Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. It is Sunday, September 30th, late morning. I'm here to do my preview show for this Saturday, October 6th, UFC 229 showdown between the notorious Conor McGregor and the Eagle Khabib Nurmagomedov. Very excited about these fights. We're going to jump right into things. As always, doing my show a little early. Always a chance that a fight falls out or something bad happens with a weigh-in. I can come back on here if I need to speak on that, but I like to go early so that way I don't accidentally steal thoughts from other people that I've heard talk. I kind of like to get my stuff out there early, make sure it's all my thoughts and my thoughts only, not any subliminal influences going on. And I will make a pick, and then we will look at the odds per usual. Let's get right into this. I'm going to skip the Fight Pass preliminary card, which goes from 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to skip over those, not much on there. Okay, so starting off on FX at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the FX prelims open up with Tanya Evinger taking on Aspen Ladd. This one's pretty straightforward to me. Tanya Evinger is 19-6. Aspen Ladd is 6-0. I don't think that Aspen Ladd has the experience that she would need. She's very young, 23 years old. I'm not entirely convinced. She does have a lot of finishes on the record. I'm not entirely convinced that she has the experience to take on Tanya Evinger. I'm going to have to pick Tanya Evinger here by decision, just for being such a veteran and having so much more experience than her opponent. But honestly, that's not a super safe bet on my part. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tanya Evinger by unanimous decision. Let's look at the odds. They have the odds for that fight as actually Aspen Ladd is the favorite. The best odds you can get her at is -162. That's the highest, and then the highest you can get Tanya Evinger at is +148. Interesting. I would have thought Tanya would be the favorite, but I will confess I don't know a whole lot about Aspen Ladd. Most of my knowledge of her was when her and Leslie Smith's fight got canceled. So that shows you about how much I know about her. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Vicente Luque. Man, I've heard his name pronounced so many different ways, but I've heard Vicente Luque. I'm going to say Vicente Luque. Vicente is taking on Jalen Turner. I hope I'm saying that right. Vicente, definitely the more experienced one here. I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about Jalen Turner, so I hate the fact that I'm even picking this fight. Here's one thing I do know. He's listed as being a lightweight. So I don't know. I would need to do a little more research. He's listed. That can't. He's 6'3". So if he is a lightweight, he's a James Vick type lightweight. So I guess he'll probably belong at welterweight. They don't have a picture of him on here. I'm on MMA Junkie. I'm definitely going to pick Vicente, but to be honest, I just don't know enough about Jalen Turner, so this is not a very educated pick, but Vicente is very dangerous. I guess I'll pick him by second round TKO. Odds on this one, Vicente is a huge favorite. -716 is the best odds you can bet on him at, and Jalen Turner is as high as +559, so I guess I'm not wrong to think that Vicente is a shoo-in to win this fight. All right, let's move on to the next one. Really want to keep this one rolling today. Got to make the wife some pancakes when I get done with this. So let's get this show on the road. All right. Jussier or Husi, I don't know. I'm so bad. I think his is actually you say the J. Yeah, you say the J. Yeah, Jussier Formiga versus Sergio Pettis. All right, this is a great fight at flyweight. By the way, the first fight, Tanya versus Aspen Ladd, women's bantamweight, 135. Second fight, Vicente Luque versus Jalen Turner, men's welterweight, 170. This one's men's flyweight, 125. Jussier Formiga taking on Sergio Pettis. I'm not going to get super deep into this one, but here's what I will say. Sergio Pettis, Jussier Formiga is older than he ever has been, as everyone is every day. Every day you're older than you ever have been, but he's definitely, he's getting older in a way that I think he's going to be physically declining, whereas Pettis is getting older in a way that I think he's getting better and starting to get a little more of his man strength, and just getting better all around. I'm going to have to pick, I'll give a little, let me give my pick, and then we'll backtrack, but I'm going to pick Pettis by unanimous decision. I would have been worried about Pettis getting submitted a year or two ago, but Sergio Pettis showed a lot of maturity in that Joseph Benavidez fight. I thought he looked really good, really composed, and I don't think that Jussier Formiga is a huge wrestling threat, which means that he might not be able to even get the opportunity to go for any submissions. I'm going to pick Sergio Pettis, to win a unanimous decision pretty comfortably. I'm pretty confident in that pick. Let's see. Sergio Pettis is the favorite. You can get him at best odds at minus 165. And Jussier Formiga, you can get him as high as plus 153. Not too surprised by any of that. And then the main event of the FX prelims. Main event here, about 7:30 Eastern Time would be when to tune in for this one. Or, sorry, not 7:30, 9:30 Eastern Time. Main event of this one right here, Sean O'Malley taking on Jose Quinones. Probably not saying that too well. Definitely going to have to go with Sean O'Malley here. So Jose Quinones, to be honest, he hasn't impressed me very much in his performances, and the reason why I'm picking Sean O'Malley, and I'm actually still listening, I'm going to pick Sean O'Malley by first round finish. Sean O'Malley has not gotten a finish yet in the UFC. He had a finish on the Contender Series, but he's known as a finisher, and I think that he's kind of gotten settled into the UFC now. I think he's going to look the best he's ever looked so far in this fight. Okay, so I think Sean O'Malley's going to come in here looking the best he's ever looked. And I felt like Jose Quinones kept getting shaken up by Teruto Ishihara whenever he would get clipped. And I definitely think that Sean O'Malley has more power than Ishihara. So I'm going to pick Sean O'Malley to get his first UFC stoppage. And I think he's going to do it in the first round, TKO. We'll see what happens, but I definitely have Sean O'Malley in this fight. Let's look at the odds. Sean O'Malley, pretty big favorite. Minus 293 is the best odds you can get him at. Jose Quinones, you can get him as high as plus 257. And that's a men's bantamweight fight, 135 pounds. Let's move on. Let's just keep moving through this. Let's keep this rolling. We got 5 more fights to get through. Let's do them. Opening up the pay-per-view card at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got Felice Herrig taking on Michelle Waterson. Two very skilled, very experienced young women here. This is going to be an excellent fight. And here's what it's going to come down to for me. It's going to come down to raw horsepower, athleticism, strength, all of the above. Got to go with Felice Herrig. I think Michelle Waterson is a great athlete, but I think she's a different type of athlete. Felice Herrig is kind of, to me, she's kind of got that CrossFit American Ninja Warrior type, and I think she actually might have competed on that. I don't think she did very well, but she's got that kind of strength. She's very athletic. Her body is incredible. I 100% trust that she's a clean athlete. She doesn't give me any warning signs of being a dirty athlete. She doesn't have any of those muscles that women don't naturally get. She just has very toned and healthy looking muscles. She's honestly, she's quite the physical. I mean, she's a very attractive young woman as well, but just her body and her tone, just the way her muscles look, she is a physical specimen. She's also has a size advantage over Michelle Waterson. I think she'll be much stronger, more powerful. I'm going to have to take her. I just don't see where Michelle Waterson takes this fight that puts her at a big advantage. And I feel like Felice Herrig has a big advantage in a lot of areas in this fight. I'm going to go with Felice Herrig by unanimous decision. But, who knows? We'll see. Let's look at the odds. Felice Herrig is a favorite, but not a very big one. Minus 127 is the best odds you can get her at. And you get Michelle Waterson as high as plus 113. And that's a women's strawweight fight, 115 pounds. All right, moving on to men's heavyweight. Derek Lewis taking on Alexander Volkov. All right. Men's heavyweight, here we go. Derek Lewis fights, they tend to be very slow and not a lot happens and then he knocks someone out. He has very, very, kind of very weird fights. Alexander Volkov does not get stopped. He was TKO'd, I believe, back in 2013 in Bellator. That was 5 years ago at this point. He is very durable, very patient, very skilled, and I think I favor him to beat Derek Lewis. I think Derek Lewis can win this fight by knockout if he lands a big counter. But I gotta favor Alexander Volkov to win this fight. I just feel like he's more well-rounded, he's more focused, he's better conditioned. I think I'm gonna have to pick him. And I think it's going to be a decision. I think it's going to be a pretty slow fight. I don't think it's going to be a super fun fight to watch. But I think Alexander Volkov is going to get this one done by unanimous decision. Let's see what the odds are on this fight. Volkov is a pretty decent favorite. Best odds for him are minus 167. And Derek Lewis as high as plus 153. Sounds about right to me. All right, moving on to the third from the top fight. We have Dominic Reyes taking on the veteran Ovens St. Preux, who's often referred to as OSP. Dominic Reyes is 9-0. Very promising up-and-coming light heavyweight. Only 28 years old, which is very young for a light heavyweight. Very powerful. Showed very, very, very good kind of a pressure counter-punching game against Jared Cannonier in his last fight. Very impressed by that. I'm going to have to go with the young gun to get this done. Now, Ovens St. Preux is by no means an old man. He's 35 actually. He's actually significantly older than I thought. I thought he was 31 or 32. So he actually is decently old, but he's a light heavyweight. I'm going to have to pick the younger guy, the more powerful guy, the more dangerous guy, the up-and-coming guy. I'm going to have to go with Dominic Reyes. I do think that Ovens St. Preux a lot of times is too relaxed for his own good, and we have absolutely seen him get knocked out. We saw Jimmy Manawa flatten him. We've seen, I'd have to think, but Ovens St. Preux has absolutely been knocked out. In particular, that Jimmy Manawa knockout's kind of in my head, thinking about the pressure that Dominic Reyes puts on. I think I'm just gonna have to go with Dominic Reyes to get a knockout. I think it's gonna be in the first round. That's a little bit of a bold prediction, but we'll see what happens. Let's look at the odds. So Dominic Reyes actually is a pretty big favorite. Best odds you can get him at are minus 214, significant favorite. Ovens St. Preux as high as plus 186. So I guess that pick's not too bad by me. All right, we got two more fights left. These are the big ones, y'all. We've got Tony Ferguson taking on Anthony Pettis. Okay, let's talk about this one for a second. Part of what's frustrating about this matchup for me is that if Anthony Pettis wins, then you've killed off Tony, who still has yet to get a real title fight. And Anthony Pettis has lost to so many people up at the top of that division. I don't understand how you could ever plug him back in for another title fight unless he won 5 or 6 in a row. I think Ferguson's going to win this fight. I'm guessing most people are picking Ferguson. I'll go ahead and get my pick, and then we'll talk backwards. I'm picking Tony Ferguson to win this fight by submission in the third round. I think it will look similar to his fight with Edson Barboza. I think Anthony Pettis does have, at kicking range, can give Ferguson some trouble. Ferguson's very good at hitting people with punches from a kicking range. You'd have to watch video. It's hard for me to give any type of breakdown like this just with audio material alone, but he has a very unique way of making his range longer than it has any right to be. He just very good at extending his range, stretching his body out, really just extending his shoulders as far as he can into punches, getting people on the end of them. He's got very good grappling. Definitely think he'll have a huge advantage there against Anthony Pettis. And I also just think that he's very durable, and I think he's a lot more dangerous than Anthony Pettis. I don't really see where Anthony Pettis wins this fight unless Ferguson just doesn't look the same coming back. I'm going to have to go with, I think Ferguson is the grittier guy, the tougher guy, the more durable guy, the more well-rounded guy. I'm just going to have to go with Tony Ferguson, and I'm really not too worried about him getting caught out on the feet because we've seen him take big shots before. before and really never get that hurt other than in that Lando fight, which he said he also kind of slipped. I don't know if that's true, but what I do know is that I'm not worried about Anthony Pettis knocking him out. It could happen. It always can, but I'm going with Tony Ferguson by third round submission. Tony Ferguson's a big favorite. Best odds you could get him at to bet on would be minus 329, and the highest you can get Anthony Pettis at is plus 299. Those are quite the odds. All right, we are on to the main event for all the marbles, the lightweight title, and the bragging rights. Khabib Nurmagomedov is taking on Conor McGregor. This is a very, very, very tough fight to pick. People can say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this for everyone a little bit. I've heard a lot of very well-respected people, and I'm not quite sure why they feel so compelled to do this, but they're saying it's really not as simple as it seems necessarily. Conor's grappling is very underrated. Khabib's striking is underrated. I'm going to knock all of that conversation out right now. That's simply really not true as it applies to this fight. Maybe Conor McGregor's grappling is underrated, but Conor McGregor is not going to be competitive in the grappling department against Khabib. And maybe Khabib's striking is a little underrated, but he's not going to be competitive in the striking department against Conor McGregor. That's just the facts. So people can try and make it sound more complicated than it is, but it's not complicated. It's very simple. Khabib is either going to maul and murder Conor McGregor on the ground, or Conor McGregor is going to pick him off on the feet and eventually knock him out. What would surprise me in this fight would be if it was a back and forth competitive fight where Conor's hurting Khabib and then Khabib gets the takedown and then Conor gets back up, and that would surprise me because I feel like Conor, once he hurts you, he's going to look to put you away, and I feel like if Khabib starts mauling Conor on the ground, Conor's going to get tired and he's not going to be able to get back in the fight and hurt Khabib. So I feel like this fight is going to very much go downhill for one of the competitors in the first round. And I think by the end of the first round, either the fight's going to be done or we're going to pretty clearly see who's winning the fight and who's going to win it. With that being said, I'm watching back some Khabib footage, and particularly the Edson Barboza fight. I don't see how Khabib gets in on Conor without getting knocked out or significantly hurt on the feet. I think if this fight was at 170, and I know this sounds really random, but just hear me out. I think that if Khabib didn't have to cut any weight, maybe he would take the shots. I just don't think that Khabib cutting down to 155 and only having 30 hours or whatever to rehydrate his brain, I don't think that he's going to be able to take shots from Conor. And I think that unless he is going to come in and use significantly different tactics than he did in his previous fights, I think that he comes in too predictably. I think he comes in on straight lines. I don't think he's responsible with his defense when he's entering. I think that he's going to get caught. This is a tough pick to make because if I pick Conor McGregor right now and Khabib starts mauling him, I'm going to be kicking myself in the pants for not picking Khabib. But if I pick Khabib and he just starts getting lit up, coming in on those predictable straight lines with the exact same patterns as he's used in every fight he's ever had that Conor knows, I'm going to feel real stupid. I'm going to go with Conor. I'm going to go with Conor McGregor, and I'm going to go with Conor McGregor by round 1 KO. I think that Khabib is going to come in and look to force the issue, and I think that Conor is going to create space, cut angles. Khabib doesn't really cut off the cage. He kind of just follows people around. When you watch the Edson fight, he's kind of just jogging after him. Edson is more of a kicker than a boxer, so he needs more space for his attacks. Conor can plant his feet very quickly and counter while in the retreat. I think Conor's going to catch him, And I think that's going to be all they wrote. All she wrote. So we'll see. Lord knows what'll happen after that. No idea who will fight next. I'm sure it'll mess up the entire weight division, and I'll be super bummed out. And I'm sure Kevin Lee will never get a title fight. But and as I've said in previous shows, he's my favorite fighter at that weight class, and I'm sure that if Conor wins, that Kevin Lee will never get to fight him, because Conor's not going to fight Kevin Lee. I mean, he probably would because he's crazy, but I don't think he will end up. So there's a small part of me that really hopes Khabib will win, because I want to see Khabib versus Kevin Lee, but I'm picking Conor. I'm picking him to do it in the first round by knockout. That's really it for me. Let's look at the odds on this fight real quick. Conor's Khabib's favorite, best odds -155. Conor, best odds +155. I guess I get that. I mean, Khabib grappling, really dangerous grappling. I guess I can see that. I think the chances of Conor just knocking him out, though, with how he rushes in kind of recklessly, I'm surprised the odds are that far apart. I think this should be a pick'em fight. If I was laying the odds, I'd have them both at like -105. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and get off here. This has been another Look with Christian King. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back exactly a week from today, Sunday, October 7th, to do the recap show for this one. Everybody, make sure you tune in this Saturday. It's going to be a big one. I'm out.